The Harrison family reunion was in full swing, crystal glasses clinking at the country club as relatives bragged about promotions, vacation homes, and children's achievements. I sat quietly at my usual corner table, wearing a simple black dress from Target, exactly what they expected from poor Olivia, who never amounted to anything. Still working at that little consulting firm? My cousin Ethan asked, swirling expensive scotch in his glass. As senior partner at a prestigious law firm, he never missed an opportunity to highlight the gap between his success and my supposed mediocrity. Something like that, I replied, hiding my smile behind a sip of water. If only he knew that his firm's biggest client, a Fortune 50 company, had paid my little consulting firm over $50 million last year alone. You know, my Aunt Margaret chimed in, her voice dripping with fake sympathy. Anderson Technologies is always hiring. I could have Thomas put in a word for you. Even in a junior position, it would be better than whatever it is you're doing now. I bit back a laugh. Thomas, my ever-successful cousin, was Anderson Technologies' CFO. He was also desperately trying to secure a meeting with the CEO of Phoenix Consulting Group, my company, to discuss their digital transformation strategy. For 10 years, I'd let my family believe I was struggling. Let them think I was barely making ends meet at some small consulting outfit while they soared to greater and greater heights. It wasn't entirely their fault. I worked hard to keep my success hidden. Olivia, dear, my mother appeared beside me, her channel suit impeccable as always. The Peterson family just arrived. Their daughter Lauren is a recruiter at Goldman Sachs. Perhaps you should introduce yourself. Mom, I'm fine where I am. She sighed that familiar disappointed sigh. Darling, you're 35. Don't you think it's time to find a real career? Your brother was made partner at his firm by your age. I thought about the meeting I had tomorrow morning with the Federal Reserve Chairman to discuss financial technology regulations, about the 3 international offices I was opening next month, about the $2.8 billion acquisition offer I'd rejected last week because it undervalued my company. I like what I do, I said simply. Of course you do, sweetie. But don't you want more? Before I could respond, a commotion near the entrance caught everyone's attention. Harrison family reunions were exclusively for family and their spouses, so the arrival of James Chen, one of Silicon Valley's most prominent venture capitalists, caused quite a stir. Must be lost, Ethan smirked. I'll have someone show him out. But James wasn't lost. His eyes scanned the room until they found me, and his face lit up with recognition. Olivia, he called out, striding toward my table. I'm so glad I caught you. I've been trying to reach you all week about the Singapore expansion. The room fell silent. Every head turned to stare at our corner. James, I said calmly, though my heart was racing. This is a private family event. He looked around, suddenly realizing his faux pas. Oh, I'm so sorry. It's just, when your assistant said you'd be at the Windsor Country Club, I thought, well, we really need your sign-off on the Asia-Pacific strategy. And you've been so hard to pin down. My mother's eyes darted between us, confusion evident on her face. Olivia, how do you know James Chen? James looked equally confused. How do I? Understanding dawned on his face. Oh, they don't know. But surely they've seen you in the... He trailed off, taking in my simple dress, the family's bewildered expressions. I stood up slowly, smoothing my dress. Perhaps we should step outside, James. But it was too late. Thomas, who had been approaching to investigate the commotion, stopped dead in his tracks. His face went pale as recognition hit. Oh my God, he whispered. You're O.P. Harrison. You're the founder of Phoenix Consulting. The crystal glass in Ethan's hand slipped, shattering on the floor. My mother grabbed the back of a chair for support. Aunt Margaret's mouth opened and closed without sound. O.P. Harrison, my carefully guarded professional identity, was a near-mythical figure in the business world. The press had dubbed me the Invisible CEO because I never appeared in photos or gave interviews, conducting all business through representatives or video calls with my face obscured. Phoenix Consulting Group had revolutionized how major corporations handled digital transformation. We'd grown from my laptop in a tiny apartment to a global powerhouse worth billions, all while I maintained near-perfect anonymity. Only my closest employees and biggest clients knew my real identity. I'd required ironclad NDAs from everyone, designed specifically to protect my privacy. I'd use my middle name Parker as my professional initial, knowing my family would never make the connection between their unsuccessful Olivia and the mysterious O.P. Harrison. But now, thanks to James's well-intentioned interruption, my careful facade was crumbling. There must be some mistake, my mother said faintly. Olivia works at a small consulting firm. She's not. Your daughter, James said proudly, is the most brilliant strategist in the industry. Half the Fortune 500 companies in America work with Phoenix Consulting. She's completely transformed how businesses. James, I interrupted firmly. That's enough. But the damage was done. My cousin Jessica was already frantically Googling on her phone. Phoenix Consulting Group, she read aloud, founded by O.P. Harrison, estimated net worth $3.2 billion. Specialized in digital transformation and strategic. Oh my God. I watched my family's faces as realization set in. A decade of condescension, pity, and thinly veiled disdain dissolved in seconds as they connected the dots. All those times you said you couldn't afford to join us for ski trips, Ethan said slowly. All those comments about living paycheck to paycheck were exactly what you expected to hear. I finished for him. After all, poor Olivia never amounted to anything, right? My mother sank into a chair. But why? Why let us think you were struggling? I looked around at their shocked faces, the same faces that had smiled dismissively at me for years, offered me entry-level job recommendations, treated me like the family disappointment. Because I said quietly, you all needed to show me exactly who you were when you thought I had nothing. James, finally reading the room, touched my arm gently. I should go. But Olivia, we really do need to discuss Singapore. I nodded. I'll have my office set something up. As he left, the whispers started. Relatives pulled out phones, searching for any information about O.P. Harrison and Phoenix Consulting. The younger cousins who'd never bothered to talk to me before suddenly found reasons to hover nearby. Thomas approached cautiously. Olivia, about that meeting request from Anderson Technologies. Have your office contact my assistant, I said coolly. We'll see if we can fit you in next quarter. He flinched at my tone but pressed on. Look, if I'd known it was you. That's exactly the point, isn't it? I met his eyes steadily. If you'd known who I really was, you'd have treated me differently. But you didn't know, so you showed me exactly what you really thought of me. My brother Michael appeared at my elbow. Unlike the others, he looked more thoughtful than shocked. The consulting work you helped me with last year for my company, he said slowly. That wasn't just friendly advice, was it? That was Phoenix Consulting methodology. I smiled slightly, wondered if you figured that out. Yes, that was a very condensed version of our digital transformation strategy. Your company's 30% revenue increase this quarter. That's why. He shook his head in amazement. And all those times Dad said you were wasting your potential. Ah yes, Dad. I spotted him across the room, still standing where he'd been when James arrived. 10 years ago, he told me I was making a huge mistake leaving my safe corporate job to start a consulting business. You'll fail within a year, he predicted. Come back when you're ready to be serious about your career. I never went back. Instead, I built something beyond any of their imaginings. But I kept it hidden, letting them believe what they wanted to believe, watching as they showed their true colors year after year. The annual family reunions had become a kind of theater for me. I'd arrive in deliberately modest clothes, dodge questions about my work, listen to their patronizing advice, all while running a multi-billion-dollar company that was transforming global business. Now the theater had become reality. The curtain had fallen, and my family was finally seeing what had been there all along. My phone buzzed, a text from my COO about an urgent matter with our European expansion. The real world was calling, reminding me that I had more important things to deal with than my family's shocked revelations. If you'll excuse me, I said, standing up. I have a company to run. The next morning, my office was flooded with messages. News of O.P. Harrison's identity had spread like wildfire through business circles. The press was clamoring for interviews, but the messages that kept catching my eye were from my family. Darling, please call me. We need to talk. Mom, hey sis, about that junior position comment. Ethan just wanted to discuss some investment opportunities. Uncle Robert. I ignored them all, focusing instead on the Singapore expansion plans on my screen. A decade of carefully maintained privacy had been shattered in a single evening. Now I had to manage the fallout. Your mother's in the lobby, my assistant Lisa announced through the intercom. She's quite insistent. I sighed. Send her up. Mom entered my corner office slowly, taking in the spectacular view of the city skyline, the elegant modern furniture, the awards lining the walls. Her eyes lingered on a framed magazine cover, O.P. Harrison, the invisible billionaire transforming global business. This is where you've been working? She asked quietly. All those times you said you were at your small consulting firm. This is my small consulting firm, I replied. It just grew a bit. A bit. She picked up an industry award. Olivia, you're one of the most successful people in the country. Why didn't you tell us? Why let us think you were struggling? I leaned back in my chair, considering my answer carefully. Do you remember Tommy Chen's wedding 6 years ago? She frowned at the apparent non sequitur. What does that have to do with anything? You spent the entire reception telling people how successful your children were. Michael's law practice, Sarah's medical career. And then you got to me. Do you remember what you said? She shifted uncomfortably. I'm sure You said I was finding myself through some consulting work. That hopefully I'd eventually find a real career path. That same night, I signed a $100 million contract with Microsoft. But if we'd known, that's exactly the point, Mom. I wanted you all to show me who you really were, not who you pretended to be when you wanted something. She sank into a chair, her perfectly maintained facade cracking. We've been horrible to you. Not horrible, I corrected. Just condescending. Dismissive. So certain that your definition of success was the only one that mattered. Before she could respond, Lisa's voice came through the intercom again. I'm sorry to interrupt, but the board of Anderson Technologies is on line 1. It's about the potential acquisition. Mom's eyes widened. Anderson Technologies? Thomas's company? Yes, I smiled slightly. We're considering buying them. Though after recent events, I might reconsider the terms. Just then, my brother Michael walked in. Unlike the others, he hadn't tried to contact me since the reunion. He looked around the office, nodding appreciatively. Nice setup, sis. A lot better than that tiny consulting firm you kept talking about. You don't seem as surprised as everyone else, I observed. He shrugged. The consulting work you did for my company. Nobody that good would be working at some small firm. I just didn't connect the dots to Phoenix Consulting. And now that you have, now I understand why you kept it quiet, the way the family treated you. We didn't deserve to know. Mom began to protest, but Michael cut her off. Come on, Mom. We were awful to her. All the snide comments about her career, the constant suggestions about real jobs, the way you apologized to people for her lack of direction. Meanwhile, she was building an empire. My phone buzzed again, Ethan trying to reach me for the 10th time today, probably wanting to discuss how his law firm could represent Phoenix Consulting. I declined the call. The press is going crazy, Michael noted, gesturing to a TV on the wall showing business news. The mysterious O.P. Harrison finally revealed. Indeed, my face was now splashed across every financial news channel. The carefully maintained mystique of O.P. Harrison had been part of Phoenix Consulting's appeal. Now that was gone. It's actually perfect timing, I said. We're about to launch our new AI division. The publicity will help. Mom looked up sharply. AI division? But that would mean that we're expanding beyond consulting? Yes. Phoenix Tech launches next month. We've developed some rather revolutionary artificial intelligence applications. Michael whistled. That explains the 15 AI patents filed under O.P. Harrison's name. 17 now, I corrected. The latest 2 were approved last week. A knock at the door interrupted us. Lisa entered with a tablet. I'm sorry, but you're needed in the conference room. The Singapore team is waiting. I stood up. Duty calls. Olivia, Mom said quickly. The family's having dinner tonight at the house. Please come. Let us try to make things right. I considered declining, but something in her face stopped me. Fine. But no discussing business opportunities, no investment pitches, and absolutely no attempts to get meetings with Phoenix Consulting. The family dinner was awkward, to say the least. Gone was the usual competitive atmosphere of achievement comparison. Instead, they all watched me like I was a stranger, trying to reconcile their image of poor Olivia with the reality of who I really was. Uncle Robert tried once to bring up a fantastic investment opportunity, but a sharp look from me shut him down. Ethan kept opening his mouth to mention his law firm's expertise in corporate law, then thinking better of it. Dad sat at the head of the table, uncharacteristically quiet. Finally, he spoke. "I told you you'd fail within a year," he said softly. "I was so certain you were making a mistake." "You all were," I replied. "Every single one of you thought you knew better than me about my own life. And now you're more successful than all of us combined," Sarah said, a hint of bitterness in her voice. "That's not the point," I countered. "The point is that none of you believed in me, none of you supported me, none of you even bothered to really ask about what I was doing. You were all too busy feeling superior." "So this was revenge?" Aunt Margaret asked, "letting us make fools of ourselves all these years?" "No," Michael answered before I could. "This was a mirror. She just let us show who we really were." The table fell silent as his words sank in. "The question is," I added quietly, "now that you've seen your reflection, what are you going to do about it?" The next few months brought big changes, both professionally and personally. Phoenix Consulting continued to grow, now with the added mystique of my revealed identity actually helping our brand. The AI division launched successfully, and the Singapore expansion exceeded projections. My family, well, they tried. It wasn't always successful, old habits die hard. But there was a genuine effort to change the dynamics that had defined our relationships for so long. Mom stopped trying to fix my career and started actually listening when I talked about my work. Dad, after initially attempting to offer business advice, learned to simply express pride in what I'd built. Iffin's law firm didn't get Phoenix Consulting's business, but he eventually stopped trying to pitch me. Instead, he focused on rebuilding our relationship as cousins rather than potential business connections. Thomas had to adjust to dealing with me as the CEO of his company's most important potential partner, rather than his struggling cousin. The acquisition talks with Anderson Technologies continued, though now with a very different power dynamic. A year after the reunion revelation, we gathered again at the country club. This time, I wore what I wanted, a designer suit that cost more than most cars. No more hiding, no more pretending. "It's different this year," Michael observed, joining me at my table. "Everyone's actually talking to each other instead of competing." He was right. The usual one-upmanship had been replaced by genuine conversations. Even the younger cousins who used to cluster in status-based cliques were mingling more freely. "Amazing what happens when you remove the artificial hierarchy," I replied. "Was it worth it?" he asked. "Keeping the secret all those years?" I thought about it. It showed me who everyone really was, both the good and the bad. Now we can build something real on that truth. My phone buzzed. The acquisition of Anderson Technologies was complete. Phoenix Consulting was now their parent company, making me effectively Thomas's boss. But instead of feeling triumphant, I felt something else. Hope. Hope that my family had learned something valuable. Hope that we could build better relationships on the foundation of truth rather than pretense. Hope that success didn't have to mean losing yourself to others' expectations. "Ms. Harrison." Lisa appeared at my elbow. "I'm sorry to interrupt, but the governor is on the line about the state's digital transformation project." I stood up, smoothing my suit. "Back to work." "Still running off to your little consulting firm?" Michael teased. I smiled. "Something like that." As I left the reunion, I heard snippets of conversation that would have been unimaginable a year ago. Cousins discussing failed ventures and lessons learned instead of just successes. Aunts and uncles asking questions about each other's lives rather than just broadcasting achievements. The family dynamics weren't perfect, but they were more authentic. Sometimes the biggest success isn't measured in dollars or achievements, but in the truth that sets everyone free. And sometimes the best revenge isn't proving others wrong about you. It's letting them prove themselves wrong all on their own.